who specifically made the decision to make this payment in cash?
I cannot speak to who made the decision to make it in cash. What I can tell you is that it was the determination of the people that had to facilitate this payment.
Was it a condition of the Iranian government, or was it a decision of the United States Department of State?
The condition of the deal was that there would be immediate payment. We knew that Iran had critical economic needs that it had to address immediately.
Certainly there are other ways to make an immediate payment other than a middle-of-the-night, what appears to be a drug drop.
We have seen difficulties with global banks being willing to engage in these particular transactions, and this was the way, this was the mechanism that we felt we could guarantee immediate payment.
All right, so they needed the cash, and they needed it fast. And a wired transfer, which would be very difficult to do, supposedly with Iran, unless you work through a number of third parties, wasn't feasible. So obviously you do the next best thing, and you put a lot of cash in a crate on a private jet. And if that doesn't do the trick, you get $1.3 billion more in cash in follow-up private jets, because $1.7 billion in total, you'd need like a C-5 freaking A. Anyway, it's a little weird, but it is what it is. A lot of folks are asking not so much about the total amount there, $1.7 billion, but that it's all in cash. It does seem weird. Congressman Bruce Poliquin from the fine state of Maine at that hearing, also raising a lot of those questions. It is odd, this whole cash portion of it, right?
Neil, this doesn't make any sense. You know, it would, if it's not so serious, it would sound silly. Here you have a government that is one of the chief sponsors of terrorism in the world, that has vowed to wipe Israel off the face of the earth and kill as many Americans as possible, and they already have blood on their hands. And we go through the settlement process and wire $1.7 billion of cash, which is the currency of terrorism, to the chief sponsor of terrorism.
But even leaving aside the motives for that, the other part of this, and probably the more crucial for the time being, the quid pro quo, that they say this is not ransom, but it's coincidental, and that is money that was due Iran from a freeze that goes back to the early days of the Carter administration, and that they were simply making sure they made good on that and had nothing to do with releasing those hostages. Do you believe that?
It doesn't. No, it doesn't smell. It doesn't smell right, Neil. There's about $400 million.
Well, what if it weren't cash? What if it weren't cash? What if it was like I don't know, just a check?
Well, here's the problem, is that there was nothing in the sanctions at the time of the transfer in January that prevented this money from being wired, but they chose cash. So it begs to ask the question, where, you know, as I mentioned, cash is the currency of terrorism. It's untraceable, it's very fungible, can be used by anybody for any purpose. So
well,
why
who insisted on the cash? Do you know, Congressman? Is that our way of saying, all right, this is an incentive for you, cynically, to get these hostages to us, or that is the currency, no pun intended, just the cash, to do what they want to do, because cash is king?
Well, they didn't answer the questions, so we still don't know this answer, and we absolutely grilled them on this question. Who asked for that cash? Was it the government of Iran that asked for the cash? Why was it in cash? You didn't have to do it that way. You could have wire transferred it. Here's the other problem.
Well, they say you can't. I don't know if this is true. They say you can't, unless it's through third parties like the Swiss or whatever. They set it up, and then it goes to Tehran, because we don't have that relationship with Tehran. Do you know what the case is?
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing in law that prevented a direct transfer from a bank in America to a bank in Tehran. And if they couldn't work it out, take a little bit more time. They've been working on this for 37 years. And why was the transfer, Neil, on the exact same day that 5 American hostages were released? Now, we're glad to have the hostages home, don't get me wrong, but it looks like to me that this was part of a ransom payment for those hostages, which only further increases the risk for Americans abroad when, gee, if we can get a ransom for these 5, what about the next people that we kidnap? It does not look good, and they did not provide us with the answers we asked.
All right, weird stuff. I'm sure you'll get to the bottom of it one way or the other, but it's the cash part that just sort of gets my attention. Well, I'm so used to these numbers, they're so numbing to begin with, but when it's all cash, I do take note.
Well, Neil, if I can mention one more thing. They could not tell me who, when the wire transfer was made to the bank in Switzerland and then converted into cash, who received that cash on those wooden pallets before it was loaded on a cargo plane in Tehran? And on the other end, in Tehran, Who received, what top Iranian officials? Were they from the military? Were they from the economic development folks? Who received the cash at the other end? We don't even know where the cash is. It's not traceable. There is absolutely no accountable where that cash went. And this is to a government that is the chief sponsor of terrorism in the world. We've got to get to the bottom of this. This does not look good.
A lot of questions. All right, thank you, sir, very, very much.